"Mama, why don't I have a father like Brennan?" Henry asked his mother, Laura, for the umpteenth time. His mother paused in her ironing and sighed. "Have you finished your homework?" she asked instead of answering. Henry frowned. Whenever he asked his mother about his father, she would find a way to talk about something else. "Yes, Sir Mon helped me," he replied, referring to her mother's employer. "He said maths is easy. He taught me a technique." He added, testing the words Sir Mon used earlier. "You shouldn't be hanging around the main house too much," Laura told her, giving him a disapproving look. "Why not?" "Because he's my boss and I'm their maid. You should know your place," she replied. "But they're really nice. Mam Alona made me a sandwich. It was delicious," Henry told her with a grin. Laura's expression softened. "Yes, they are kind, but I still want you to avoid staying in the main house and just do your assignment here in our room." "Because of Brennan?" he asked, remembering the scary look Sir Mon and Mam Alona's son gave him earlier. "Yes, and because we don't want to keep bothering them," Laura said, focusing her attention once more on his uniform she's ironing. "I wish I had a dad, too," Henry muttered more to himself than his mother. He saw his mother stiffened, then she turned off the iron and walked over to the bed where he was seated. "Am I not enough?" she asked gently. "We've got each other, Henry. Isn't that enough?" Henry didn't know how to reply. How can she explain to his mother how envious he is of his classmates? They get to play basketball with their dads. He saw Brennan riding Sir Mon's shoulder and it looked mighty fun. Laura sighed when he didn't reply, placing her arms gently around him and enveloping him with her warmth. Henry inhaled, comforted. "One day, you will understand. I will tell you everything. For now, let's work on getting you a good future. I promise you, you will become whoever you want to be," she told him, cupping his face in her palms. Henry stared into his mother's eyes and nodded. One day, he will find his father. A loud honk broke into his reverie. With a start, he realized the light has turned green and the car behind him is honking to get him to move. He was thinking about his mother again. Laura always said he was the only one that makes her happy, and yet, even in death, she denied him the truth. Leaving Henry with no clue where to look and terrified of what will happen to him. His thoughts are still occupied as he reached his parking spot. He had been lucky to have the life that he has now. But it had not been easy. Henry was only 13 when his mother died. Too young to be all alone in the world. His fate in the hands of his mother's employers. A day after the funeral, he sat on the bed they used to share, afraid that he was about to be sent to an orphanage. A knock came from the door before it opened to reveal Sir Mon. "Henry, can you join us in the dining room, please?" he asked. He nodded numbly and followed. "Sit down, dear." Mam Alona gestured to a chair beside Brennan, who looked puzzled. He obeyed silently and watched Sir Mon took his place at the head of the table. He looked down on his lap and waited for someone to speak. Certain that they were about to tell him he can't stay with them anymore now that his mother is gone. Would it be possible to remain as her replacement? He can clean the house and do laundry. He helped his mother numerous times. Mon cleared his throat and looked at his wife. Brennan looked from his father to his mother shrewdly. Henry kept his gaze on his lap, his heart a drumbeat in his chest. "Henry," Sir Mon called. He looked up, his apprehension receding slightly at the smile on Sir Mon's face. "We understand how you feel. We think of Laura as a family too." The mention of his mother's name was like a dagger in his chest. He won't see her ever again. He looked down again to hide the tears welling in his eyes. "Your mother told us she was from Sama. She was only 18 when she came here, and no longer has any relatives in her hometown. Of course, she may have kin in other towns or other provinces, but there was just no way for us to know that now that she's gone. Laura may not know about them as well." Henry swallowed painfully. Does this mean they do not know where to send him? How can his mother leave him the way her parents did at such a young age? Why didn't she fight harder to live, knowing he can't survive on his own? For the first time since his mother passed away, he felt a twinge of resentment. He only had his mother in this world, and now she's gone. He's all alone. "We've grown fond of your mother, Henry," Mam Alona said. "She was an honest, hard-working woman. When she got pregnant with you, she begged that we let her continue to work here, and of course, we agreed." She paused as though deciding on how to phrase her next words. "She wouldn't tell us who got her pregnant, though. She was adamant that she would bring you up by herself, and we didn't feel right to pry. She saved enough money for her pregnancy, and when she gave birth, she asked us to put most of her salary in a bank account for your future. That's what we've been doing for the past 13 years, and of course, you will get her benefits from the government as well. We think it will greatly help you in the future. What's the point of a future if he didn't know where he would go now? He thought, looking down on his knees again. Can he live on his own? We also think of you as part of our family, and it is our wish that you stay here, not to work but as our son. If that's okay with you. Sir Mon told Henry. Mam Alona nodded with a fond smile at him. Brennan, who had been quiet since this conversation started, blurted incredulously, "You're going to adopt him?" "Yes, son," Sir Mon replied, turning to look at him. "Wouldn't you love that? You will have a younger brother." The knot in his chest loosened. He didn't have to go to the orphanage after all. He didn't have to live alone. He can have a family and an older brother. Unable to speak in his relief, Henry nodded with a tentative smile. He turned to Brennan eagerly to express how happy he was, but something in his expression kept him. Brennan was wearing a forced smile, though his eyes remained cold. A sense of unease clenched his stomach. "Welcome to the family," Mam Alona whispered in his ear, hugging into her. "Thank you, Mam Alona," he replied, smiling shyly up at her. "Mum," Alona corrected. Henry hesitated. He can feel Brennan staring daggers at him. "Mum," he echoed. "And that makes me Dad," Sir Mon interjected, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Dad," Henry mumbled timidly. Henry knew that Brennan didn't like him. Growing up, he tried numerous times to befriend him, calling him Kuya as a sign of respect. The latter, however, did not appreciate it, so he settled with just Brennan. Seeing the aversion her employer's son to Henry, Laura encouraged her son to learn to play by himself, indulging his love for reading that he discovered at such a tender age. Laura sought thrift stores for second-hand books that began Henry's considerable collection. He also discovered his passion for drawing and painting. Although the materials are expensive, Laura wanted him to nourish his love of art. She displayed his doodles and drawings proudly. By the time he was 10, his works became more defined. Painting and drawing became a hobby that occupied hours of his time. Laura did everything to keep him away from Brennan. In her death, his adoption threw all her efforts out of the window. It didn't take long for Brennan to let Henry know how he felt about his adoption. Right after he accepted their offer, they helped him move to an upstairs bedroom. It was twice the size of the room he and Laura shared. His heart soared when he saw a table with a small pile of toys still in their boxes. He rushed to it in disbelief, picking up the one nearest to him. "We thought you'd like him to distract you from thinking about your mother," Mon told him. Alona gave him a disapproving look. "We knew you loved to read and draw, so we also think you should have your own bookshelf. And of course, you can access the library downstairs. We've got you drawing materials too." His eyes grew wide when he spotted the bookshelf filled with books in the corner. In a trance, he put the toy back and walked over to it. His collection was already arranged neatly on the shelf along with new ones from his new parents. There are dictionaries, almanacs, classic stories from famous authors, and so much more. There were drawing books and painting materials stacked neatly on top of a study table. "Let's shop for clothes tomorrow," Alona said, watching him indulgently. "We'll leave you alone in case you want to rearrange things or just rest." She patted his cheek. "Thank you, Mum, Dad," Henry said softly, still trying to get used to calling them as his parents. He looked around the room, overwhelmed. "You're welcome, sweetie. Remember dinner is at 7, okay? I'll have Lolung come up here to fetch you in case you forget." Henry felt staggered to own so much, and he sat on his huge bed gazing around the room with a grin on his face after they left. The smile slipped off his face as Brennan sauntered into the room, a menacing sneer on his lips. Henry watched him apprehensively. "You think you're so lucky, don't you?" He glared at him and caught sight of the toys. Henry gasped as he watched him grab the red robot and tear it from the box. With surprising strength, he removed the head, tossed it on the ground, and stomped on it repeatedly. "There," he said, panting slightly. "I just improved it to match you. Trash. I'll come back for the rest." Brennan cast a disdainful look around the room and scowled at him before storming out. He collapsed on the floor weakly, picking up the unused toy gently, broken beyond repair. Unable to comprehend why Brennan hated him so much, Henry was bewildered at how much Brennan loathed him and how much effort he put in letting him know but hiding it from their parents at the same time. He became a picture of a doting older brother in public. The first time he was nice to Henry, he felt a surge of hope that he finally accepted him. Then he saw the sneer curling Brennan lips when their parents are not looking. Henry took to locking his bedroom when he's inside it after waking up in the middle of the night to catch Brennan with a pair of scissors, halfway through cutting one of his Hardy Boys books. Only stopping when he let out a yell of surprise. With a wicked smirk, he showed the pair of scissors threateningly before leaving the room. It took him days to repair the book with huge amounts of clear adhesive tapes. Aside from destroying anything he can lay his hands on, Brennan hit him as well. Punching him in the stomach, tripping him, smacking his head, all done when no one else was around. After a while, Henry learned to avoid being near him unless necessary. But it was Brennan's words that got to him the most. His snide remarks and taunts that he'd whisper in Henry's ears. He'd call him a servant, thief, trash, a loser, and other names he can come up with. But he never retaliated. The fear of being sent away was enough to keep everything to himself. Less than a year after Laura died, Henry was once again first in his class. Instead of the quiet dinner celebration he was accustomed to when Laura was still alive, his adoptive parents decided to treat the whole family to a lavish dinner. He watched Brennan warily when Mon announced this, knowing the storm brewing behind the smiles. True enough, he pulled him aside as they entered the restaurant, looking angrier than Henry had ever seen him. "You took Mum and Dad from me. It's bad enough that I need to call you my brother when you're just the maid's son. Now, you want to be better than me?" Brennan hissed, looking around once to ensure that they were out of earshot. "Is there a problem?" Mon asked mildly. He came back when he noticed his sons lagged. Brennan gave him a warning look, then plastered a smile on his face. He put an arm around Henry's shoulders, turning to his father. "No, Dad, I was just congratulating my little brother here. I'm just so proud of him. Isn't that right, bro?" he asked, giving him a little shake. He nodded shakily and followed them inside the restaurant miserably. That night, he tossed in his bed, wondering whether he was better off in an orphanage after all. He was petrified to say anything about Brennan's attitude towards him. What if they don't believe him? Maybe he was right, maybe he did something wrong. Brennan blamed him for a lot of things. He said it was his fault that he didn't pass the 9th grade. He couldn't concentrate on his studies because Henry was in the house. He kept distracting him, he said. He tried to help Brennan, to make it easier for him. He tried not to make too much noise when Brennan was around. He spent a lot of his time in the family library. His love for reading became his companion to avoid Brennan. Then he finally passed 9th grade and became classmates with Henry in the 10th grade. He tried not to outshine his older brother. He volunteered to do all of Brennan's homework and school projects, even gave him his allowance money if he asked for it, but it wasn't enough. By the end of the school year, Henry asked to be transferred to a public school. He also told his parents he wanted to experience commuting to and from school. This puzzled the couple but honored his request. When it was time to go to college, Henry elected to go to a state university, choosing psychology as his major. Declining his parents' suggestion to take business administration in a prestigious university like Brennan. In the end, they relented when he explained he wants to join the academe world someday. In return, he agreed that they would fund his studies. They didn't want him to work part-time or use his inheritance money from his mother. "That's for your future, when you want to have a family of your own," Alona had said. The couple treated Henry and Brennan the same, something the latter resented. Being the biological son, he expected preferential treatment from his parents. Henry, on the other hand, loves them dearly, but he couldn't bring himself to tell them how much Brennan hated him. At first, he was scared they would decide it's too much trouble to get him to build a brotherly relationship, and decide to send him to an orphanage after all. As years progressed and he came to think of them as his parents, he felt the need to make Brennan think of him as his brother too. He did not want to cause trouble in the family. It was challenging to interact with his brother when their parents are around, knowing that his kindness and brotherly affection were all for show. Brennan's attitude towards him worsened over the years, and avoiding him became his top priority. College graduation couldn't come fast enough, and when it finally did, he was itching to move out and start on his own. Alona begged that he wait until he has a stable job, and his father asked that he worked for the family business as his first job. At the time, Brennan was still in college after getting kicked out from 3 universities, necessitating Mon to threaten to disown him if it happened again. Seeing how disappointed his parents were at Brennan's antics, he obliged their requests. He knew Mon wanted him to learn everything about their company in the hopes of passing the business on to his sons eventually. Henry loved working for his father, but his brother made it clear that he did not want him there. As far as is concerned, the business is his by right. When Brennan finally graduated from college, he started working for their company right away. He wasted no time telling Henry that the company is too small for the two of them and he should leave it to the biological heir. Since he only accepted the job as a favor to their father, he was only too happy to resign. Henry refused their offer to buy him a condominium unit, and opted to rent an apartment for himself. He knew that one day, he would want a house with a garden where his children can play. He envisioned a day when he would stand by the altar, watching as his bride walked towards him. Ready to start a new life, like what Mon and Alona have. He was willing to wait for that special person. The women he dated once or twice were nice, but he didn't feel the connection he was looking for. And then he met Adrienne.